Thank you, everyone. Hello. Some of you might recognize the last name. I am Lance Mills' daughter, but I'm not here to talk your ears off about veterinary sciences today. Like the intro said, Annaleigh Mills, I'm the Wild Basket Coordinator. The Wild Basket is a food sovereignty project based out of Temiskaming First Nation. And so it began in the year 2013, kind of as a response to how we can better utilize non-timber forest products. So it started with the forestry industry, and we still work closely alongside the forestry industry. And just as a bit of a clarification on the project, so the Wild Basket Project is under Nidakanan, which is the Natural Resources Department of Temiskaming First Nation. So what we do, we transform forest products into these value-added food things, so such as Nabi, which is our carbonated water line, which you see at the bottom there. So we also utilize both cultivation practices and wild harvesting from our forests. And we just released our ready-to-eat products. So those are wild foods that are made using wild mushrooms and other wild food products from our forests. And then we make the soups, make the sauces, and freeze dry them. And then that results in a powder, and all you have to do is add hot water, and it's all ready-to-eat wild mushroom soup. So some of the project objectives and goals is enhancing food security and sovereignty within Temiskaming First Nation, as well as facilitating knowledge transfer and creating opportunities for that knowledge to be shared from our elders, from our community members, to our youth, and people who are doing this type of work. We also provide ongoing community engagement initiatives. So you can see in the bottom there, we did a bear harvest this spring where we had an elder, Hank Rogers, come out and show some of our school classrooms how to skin and butcher a bear. Some of the other things that we have done is Nature Week, where we brought our youth out into our cultural site, Bull Rock, for a week. And we were able to teach them all about the wild plants and foods that grow on that area, as well as community harvests, so for fiddleheads and blueberries and things like that. So we also do community empowerment through economic activities that are rooted in our culture. So it's not often that you get the opportunity to work in the forest in the way that is benefiting and regenerating our forest ecosystems. So oftentimes in the past, jobs in forestry have been doing brush cutting and cutting down the trees. So it's really empowering to our members to be able to have these roles where they are actively participating in the preservation of our territory. So some of our ongoing activities and research that we're engaged in includes truffle studies, mycelium culture, mushroom cultivation, haskap field, community garden, as well as product research and development. So we are very lucky with the truffle studies that we have partnered with a truffle expert, Véronique Cloutier from Quebec, and we actually found 3 new species. So we are currently working on the report for that and seeing if they are edible and if there's something that we can do with that. With the mycelium cultures, we do mushroom production. So with mycelium culture, we're able to be self-sustaining. We're no longer having to purchase those cultures from other people, but we're actually able to do them ourselves. And to just develop that community capacity to be able to do these things on our own and producing stuff for the community. We also, like I mentioned, mushroom cultivation. We have in the top right corner there our mushroom tent. It's literally like a temporary shelter that you would use to park your car in the winter that we've modified with some humidifying systems to grow mushrooms. We also have the haskap field. So it's about 2 acres of haskap bushes. That we are now heading into our 5th season this upcoming year. So last year was our first real season of production. And so we're looking at how we can utilize those within our products. Right now, the efficiency is very low. We currently harvest with our student volunteers who go out and really trek through hand picking in a field in the 30-degree weather and the smoky summer that we had. So we're very lucky that we're able to have that. We also just took over control of our community garden, so we're looking into some mushroom projects there as well. So co-growing cabbage and wine cap mushrooms that benefits both, and then also in the fall with garlic. And then, looking at how can we make these products? How can we, do more ourselves? So things like seasonal development. Right now, a lot of our products, we harvest them at the end of the summer. And so that means that we now only have one batch at the end of the summer that has to last us the whole year. So we've been looking at different seasonal products so that, maybe if we run out of our sumac nibi, maybe we have a pine one that we are able to harvest in the winter to still have products available. So some of the challenges that we face with our project, you can see the photo. That's our traditional territory. So Temiskaming First Nation is unceded, so we never signed any treaties. We never agreed for this to happen to our territory. So some of the big impacts that affect our project include climate change. So things like the forest fires and air quality impact our ability to go out and harvest some of these sites. Although on the flip side with that, we do actually monitor forest fires so that we can go the year after to look for fire-specific morels. And then also with that, the increase in temperatures. So like I mentioned with our summer students, once it hits 30 degrees, we're not really wanting them out there in the direct sun, so we have to come up with other activities for them to do that's not in the direct sunlight. For us, a big challenge is industry. So forestry hugely impacts the ability for us to go out and harvest, whether that's spraying or cutting our sites or whatnot. That's a really big impact, but we are starting to work closer with the forestry industry to communicate when they're spraying, when they're gonna go cut sites, because if we know that they're gonna go cut, we can enter into that site and harvest differently. We don't need to use the same sustainable or regenerative practices because we know that that site's going to be clear cut anyways. Another big one for us is mining. So we have to be cautious of where we're harvesting and be knowledgeable of the historic mining sites because we have quite a bit of contamination on our land, and mushrooms just happen to be very adept at kind of sucking in a lot of those contaminants. So we have to be really cautious where we're harvesting. Another big one is agriculture. So a lot of this territory has been developed for agricultural purposes. And so just being knowledgeable about what activities are going on there and the land use planning and how they're planning to use those municipality lands. And then, yes, urban development and privatization. So for us, we don't have a whole lot of crown land. We don't like to use that term, but that's what most of you would be familiar with. We don't have a lot of that left to go harvest on because a lot of our territory has been developed into the city of Temiskaming Shores and surroundings, and a lot of that land has been privatized, so we can't go harvest on those areas. Another impact is the resource availability, so infrastructure. I think that was kind of touched on earlier on how northern communities don't necessarily have the right infrastructure to be doing these types of projects, and it's something that needs to come in and be developed. For us too, human resources. So often with our project, we try to aim for capacity building. We hire community members who might not have the expertise or knowledge, but we will train them to do that so that we can build up capacity within our own community. And then also looking at the variable wild production. So year to year, mushroom sites are going to be different. It's going to depend on temperatures. It's going to depend on rainfall. One year might be a stellar blueberry harvest, and the next year you might have none. So that changes year to year, so we try to develop our products in such a way that if we do lose a species for a season, that we don't lose all of our products. Also with that, we wanted to touch on talking about sustainability and regenerative practices. So on our territory, our soil health has not been that great. We've lost a lot of carbon, and that's not really something you want to sustain. That's something that we actually need to actively regenerate to get to the point where we want it to be. So sustaining a bad situation is not necessarily the goal, but we'd rather work towards regeneration and making those lands healthy again. The clicker's not working, but yeah, that was good. So some of our future goals, so we've started expanding some of our activities, scaling up the Wild Basket project, looking into developing a dedicated project space. Right now, like I mentioned, we are in with the Department of Natural Resources, and it is quite tightly packed. So having that own space, and I know we're looking to develop a cafe within the community where we can sell these products and have them available locally. Also, how can we just expand our HASCAP products? How can we better utilize that resource that we have? As well as doing more with our community garden, hosting more activities there, and encouraging more local food production in that way for our community. I've also been working on the creation of a harvester certification program. So this would be a training course that people could take. And at the end of it, they would be certified harvesters for the Wild Basket Project. So people who are already going out on the land and who are already seeing some of these species can now harvest them and sell them back to the Wild Basket Project. And then also publishing our harvest guidebook. So this has been something that's been developed over the past few years with harvesting protocols for the different species, how to do so sustainably or in a regenerative way. So that's kind of one of those things. And then see how this could be replicated in other First Nations communities neighboring ours, seeing if there's interest there, and strengthening ties with our surrounding regional community like Temiskaming Shores and Temiskaming, Quebec, Ville Marie, things like that. But that's all I have for today. If you have any questions, that'll be a little later, but feel free to approach me at any point during today to get in contact. Thank you.